Hi my jewels, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I am going to share with you guys my pregnancy journey. So if you guys would want to hear my story, just keep on watching. So first things first. So I found out I was pregnant on June 16 of 2021. And that's where everything began. So that day, that morning, I was actually going to work. So it was a Wednesday, I want to say it was a Wednesday. So I think it was a Wednesday. I was on my way to work. I woke up that morning feeling very, very weird. Like just the day felt weird as soon as I woke up. And I got ready how I usually get ready. Excuse my baby, he's in the background. So I got to work and I met up with one of my coworkers, and I just told her, like, I asked her, I was like, do you feel like it's weird? Like just the ride to work felt so quiet. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt weird. So I asked my coworker, I was like, do you feel weird or is it just me? And she was like, no, it's like, I don't feel weird. So I just ignored it and I just went through my day. I didn't feel weird at all at work. Like I didn't have any symptoms or anything at all. I got home, like my whole ride home was fine. I got home and everything was normal. Like it was just that morning when I woke up that I felt weird. I got home, everything was normal. Hold on, let me go get my baby. At that time, my parents, my whole family except my brother and myself didn't go. They were on a trip to Mexico, so they were in Mexico. So I was home by myself with my brother, so we would make our own food and stuff. My brother was not working at the time and I was working, so he was like, don't worry, I'll take care of making food, so when you get home ya no más comes. Sorry. Spanglish. So when you get home, you just get home and eat. So I was like, oh, okay, works for me. So that happened and he decided to make, I want to say he made hamburgers, like homemade hamburgers. My boyfriend went over and then we ate hamburgers, and I don't know, I didn't feel weird there. Like we ate normally and our day went on. Me and my boyfriend went to pick up his mom, so I was like, oh, I'll go with you, that way you don't go by yourself. So I went, me thinking nothing like was gonna happen. Just from my house to his mom's work, it was like 30 minutes, a little bit past 30 minutes, and that car drive was bad. Like I felt bad, I felt nauseous, I felt dizzy, I felt bad. I blamed it on the hamburgers. I was like, maybe I didn't like them and like they didn't sit right on my stomach. So I was like, okay, it's the hamburgers. I wasn't thinking anything. I was late 2 days. I hadn't gotten my period, so I was late. But I wasn't really overthinking it because my period was kind of late. It would be like 1 month it would be late and then like it'd go back on track, but that month I was late 2 days and I was not thinking anything. I was just like, maybe no me cayó la comida, like I was not feeling it. So then we picked up his mom and I was like holding in my throw up so badly, like I wanted to throw up so badly. We dropped her off at her house and then we went back to my house. So we went back to my house and I was like, okay, like something's up. And my boyfriend said, you know what, just take a pregnancy test, like just to make sure you're not pregnant or whatever. So I had the small pregnancy test, not like the actual digital ones. I had like the small ones. So I was like, no, just go take one of those. So I went up to my room and I took the pregnancy test, and my boyfriend said, call me when you want to check. So like we checked together. So as soon as I took like the pregnancy test, I literally just set it, like I put it down on the counter And I started to wash my hands, and I didn't know how quick that thing went. I just looked down and I saw the lines appearing so quickly. Surely enough, there was 2 lines, like 2 bright lines. So I didn't even have time to call my boyfriend up. I called him after, but I literally like freaked out. I'll insert a little video of me finding out I was pregnant. So that was my reaction. I did not record me telling my boyfriend because I just wanted to tell him and make it more personal. But yeah, I called him up and I told him, like I texted him, I was like, okay, come up. But I had already found out I was pregnant. As soon as I opened the bathroom door, I started crying. I was crying, and I was like, okay, I'm pregnant, like I'm pregnant. So we decided to go to Target and buy the actual digital ones that say pregnant. And I was like, I want to tell somebody, like I want to tell somebody so badly. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna tell my brother. Like I'm gonna tell my brother I was pregnant. My eyes were all swollen because I was crying. And I made a little note, and I don't remember exactly what I put, but I think I put, are you ready to be a tío? And I went downstairs and he was playing in the TV downstairs. He was playing his video games. And I told him, hey, and I gave it to him, and he was the first one that found out I was pregnant. He was surprised as well. I started crying because I was so emotional. My sister got home, I think that night. No, I think she came the following day, or en la madrugada she got home. So I was like, okay, I gotta tell her. She had just moved in with her boyfriend, so I was like, okay, I can just say I got them something for their room for welcoming, I don't know. So what I got when we went to Target, I got like a little some baby clothes, and I still have it actually. Let me get it. So when we went to Target, I got this little set of Mickey, and I was like, okay, I'll just put this in a bag. So I got them a little gift, like a welcoming gift for their room. So I was like, okay, I'll just give them that and we'll see how that goes. I gave it to my sister, and her boyfriend was like in front of her, and she opened it and she was like, okay, like this isn't for my room. She kind of wasn't like connecting the dots until I took out the pregnancy test, and I was holding it and I was like, I'm pregnant. We started crying, she hugged me and all that stuff. I did not record her reaction. I did record my parents' reaction, so I'll insert that right now.
Oh, Yuli.
I was so nervous, not scared. I was nervous to tell my parents. I didn't know what they were gonna say. But they were happy. They were happy that they were gonna be grandma and grandpa. So that was just me finding out I was pregnant, and then me telling my family that I'm pregnant. So when I went to the doctor to get my first checkup, they told me I was already 4 weeks pregnant. So I was like, there's like a little orb. I had my first ultrasound at like a clinic, just because I wanted to make sure everything was okay. I was way too early, so they couldn't really like check everything how it's supposed to be. But they did say like everything looked perfectly fine. No worries. So I was like, okay, I'll just wait. And they did tell me like, oh, you have to wait like around 10 weeks for your first ultrasound. So I was like, oh, okay. So I ended up going to my actual doctor, and I went with my mom just to make sure that I was pregnant and everything was okay. So yeah, they said that I was pregnant, and they actually gave me my due date that day, and they told me that I was due in February 20th, those days of 2022. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I have a due date. Like it started to kick in more. So my whole like beginning the first trimester, it didn't hit me hard, but it hit me, if that makes any sense. The symptoms I had was I was very tired. I wanted to nap like every day at all times. I would crave stuff, but as soon as I would try to eat it, like me daba asco. I wouldn't really want to eat it. I didn't get bad morning sickness. I only threw up once or twice out of my whole pregnancy. So that was amazing. I would just get very nauseous, but I wouldn't really throw up. I would just get nauseous. For sure, being in the car was a no. Like I either had to be driving or like I couldn't go in the car because I would get nauseous. I would carry a bag in the car just in case I would throw up, but I never did. So my whole first trimester was it was all right. It wasn't too bad, I would say. So I want to say I was around 23 to 24 weeks. I'm not sure exactly how many weeks I was when I found out I had something called cholestasis of pregnancy. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right. But that is, let me show you guys, let me read to you guys the actual definition of what it is. So cholestasis of pregnancy is a condition that slows or stops the normal flow of bile in the gallbladder. It can cause severe itching. Yes, very, very itching. This is the most common symptom. So the goals of treating cholestasis of pregnancy are to relieve itching and prevent complications for a developing baby. The symptoms for this is very, very severe itching, and let me tell you guys, it was bad, like bad itching. So the itching started around my belly area, and I really didn't think much about it because I was like, okay, your belly stretches, it gets itchy, that's normal. And then it started to spread around my arms. It was like my arms, like it felt bad, like it was itching, like very itchy. And then like towards my back area, and then my hands started to get super itchy. I was like, okay, this is not normal. Like, why is my skin so itchy? It literally spread throughout my whole body. My thighs were itchy, the bottom of my feet, that was the worst. You couldn't see nothing, like there's nothing you could see. It was just itchy, like itchy. So I was like, okay, this isn't normal. One day I was just going through TikTok, and for some reason some girl popped up and she was explaining like her symptoms, and it was like exactly what I was feeling. And I was like, okay, then it's normal to be itchy around those areas when you're pregnant. But then she said that she had cholestasis, and I was like, okay, let me search what that is. So then I called my doctor and I told him, hey, like I'm experiencing some symptoms. I don't know if this is normal, but I would want to get some tests done, like just to see how my bile acids are. So I got tested, and surely enough, when they called me back, they said, yeah, you have something called cholestasis of pregnancy. So then they called me and they said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and give you medication, and that should help the itching, kind of relieve the itching and help it go away in a way. They did tell me like, oh, use any type of like itching cream to help you with the itching. So I did. That didn't work at all. I would need to have something cold. I would have to shower with cold baths because that was the only way I felt good. Hold on. Water break. At that time I had already stopped working. I decided to stop working completely just because I would work in a factory where I would be receiving like chemicals and stuff. So I didn't want to make my pregnancy worse than what it already was. So I stopped working and I was just staying home and kind of relaxing. So then my third trimester kicked in, and throughout my whole third trimester, the whole itching never went away. I would go to the doctor to just for my normal checkups, and then they did recommend me to get checkups every week just to monitor my baby and just to make sure that his heartbeat was normal and everything just looked normal. So I guess when you have cholestasis, they monitor your baby depending on how severe you have the illness. They can either be checking you hold on, papacito. Depending on how severe your illness is, they either check you once a week, twice a week, or like every other day. So for me, the illness wasn't as severe. It was severe, but not as severe. And it helped that I was taking the medication. So it didn't really affect the baby as much. So they were like, okay, you can be monitored at least once a week. And we'll see how it goes through then. And yeah, I started to just go once a week throughout my whole pregnancy. I just went once a week. I loved going just to hear the baby's heartbeat and make sure everything was good. So so something that can happen when you have cholestasis of pregnancy is something called stillbirth. So excuse my baby, he's playing with a water bottle. So stillbirth is basically the baby literally dies inside your stomach and it just doesn't move. So it's stillbirth. So that would scare me a lot, just to think of, okay, like the baby can stop moving at any times. So I really enjoyed just going every week and getting checked. So one day when I woke up, I was not feeling the baby as much as how I would feel him other mornings. And I was like, okay, maybe it's because I haven't had breakfast. So I was like, okay, let me go have breakfast. That didn't work. I was like, maybe he's still sleeping in my belly. But I was like kind of worrying, but not worrying. And I was like, okay, I had to go do groceries that day. So I was like, let me go do groceries, do everything how I usually do. And I was like, you know what? I texted my boyfriend. I was like, I don't feel him. Like, I just want to make sure he's okay. Like, I want to go get checked. So then that afternoon, I think that afternoon, I called and I was like, hey, I'm not feeling my baby normally how I usually feel him, and he's not really kicking, and like I'm worried, like I would want to get checked. And they were like, okay, just drink cold water or something cold or ice cream to wake him up. And I was like, no, like I already tried. And I told them, I was like, I have cholestasis of pregnancy. And they were like, oh, okay, like I recommend you go to the emergency room. That scared me even more, because I was like, okay, like she seemed worried, I should be worried. So then we went. They didn't allow my boyfriend to go in that day. So they put me into a room, and it felt so real because they had like the little bed for the babies, like when they're born. I was like in the actual labor and delivery room. So they plugged me in and they checked and they monitored the baby, and they were like, are you feeling him right now? And I was like, no, like I don't feel him. They're like, he's perfectly fine, like we can hear the heartbeat, he's moving and he's good, but we'll monitor you right now. Like I think they left me in the monitor for like maybe an hour, and I was like, okay, well he's fine. I was like, I can breathe now, like I feel way better. But the girl did come in and she was like, are you feeling any other pains or anything? And I was like, no, I'm not actually. And she was like, because you're actually having contractions. And I was like, contractions? Like I'm only like, I think at that time I was like 30 weeks. I was like, no, I think at that time I was like 32 weeks. I was like, no, like this is way too early for me to give birth. Like there's no way. We had nothing ready, like nothing. We never thought of me giving birth way before the due date. So I got monitored for around 30 minutes to an hour, and I was like, I told the nurse, I was like, is there any way my boyfriend can come inside, because he's been in the lobby for quite some time. And she's like, yeah, go ahead and bring him up. And yeah, they allowed him to be there, so he was there with me. We were just listening to the heartbeat and everything was normal. So they gave me medications to calm my contractions because they weren't going down. They were very frequently, but not strong. So I was experiencing a couple contractions throughout some weeks, and then one day came and I was like, okay, like these hurt, like these are actual contractions. So they admitted me to the hospital and they checked on my dilation and see how many centimeters I was dilated, and I was around 2 to 3 centimeters dilated. So I was like, okay, like I'm pretty scared. So they were trying to help me prevent and to going into like actual labor, because I was 34 weeks, and they were like, okay, we don't want you to give birth to a preemie baby. So they were like, let's try to avoid you going into labor. And they gave me more of that medication, and they literally just told me like, go home and like rest. So that night when I got home, it was January 6th. It was January 6th, and I took a picture. I was like, okay, like maybe it could be my last picture of me being pregnant. And it sure was my last picture. I lasted a couple days having mild contractions until I was like, okay, yeah, I cannot, like it hurts. And then January 11th kicked in. It was around 2-3 in the morning, and I woke up my boyfriend. I was like, hey, like I'm counting my contractions and like I'm timing them, and they're pretty close and it hurts now, like I would want to go to the hospital. So we got our stuff ready, and I woke up my mom and I was like, ya nos vamos al hospital, like I need to go to the hospital, like I think I'm gonna be in labor this time for real. So we went, I got admitted, and we did the whole thing again. Literally, like we were going back and forth to the hospital. They checked my dilation and they were like, you're actually 5 centimeters, so you are in labor. My contractions were pretty bad. They were like 6 out of 10 at that time, and I was already like 5-6 centimeters. And then the girl went in and she checked me, and she was like, you're dilating pretty quickly, so like you're gonna have the baby today. So my delivery went super quick. They checked me again, and I was like around already 7 centimeters, and I was like, okay, like the pain is pretty bad. I'm trying to rest. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the epidural. Like the pain was bad. So they gave me that epidural. Then we were watching TV, and then like a couple hours after, they're like, okay, we're here to check your dilation again. And they checked me, and I was like, she's like, oh my gosh, you're already 9 centimeters. So like we're gonna get ready to push. I was like, 9 centimeters, like what? So then one of the nurses came in and she was like, hi mija, like okay, we're gonna start and get ready to like practice pushing, just so you know what to do when the time comes. I was like, okay, whatever. So then she was like, okay, like we're gonna start pushing, and we literally pushed for like 2 times, and she was like okay, like the baby's gonna come. And they broke my water, so like they literally made the baby want to come down. So she stepped out and she was like, okay, I'm gonna call your doctor, because it seems like the baby's there, like peek, like she told my boyfriend, like peek and you can see the head, like he's coming already. I told my boyfriend, I was like, hey, like I have the urge to use the restroom, like I need to go to the restroom, like I need to go, number 2, like I need to go. So then he called, and the girl came, and I was like, I need to use the restroom, like I need to go, number 2. And she's like, you feel pressure down there? And I was like, yeah, like I need to push. And she's like, no, like it's because you're about to give birth. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I was like, I need to push. Like as soon as I was like, I need to push, like I was like, I'm a push. My doctor literally had just arrived, and she was literally just putting her coat on. She was like, oh my god, the baby, like you could see the head. Like she got ready, she sat down, and she's like, we're gonna start pushing. And I was like, okay, like I already knew the contraction was coming in, so I was like, I'm gonna push, like I need to push. And yeah, I did like 3 to 4 pushes and the baby was born. Like just hearing his cry was such a relief. It was beautiful. They just put the baby on my chest for a little bit of minutes because they needed to take him to the NICU. He was there with me for like 2 minutes maybe, I would say, and then they took him. I didn't see him until like hours after, until my epidural was off and I was able to walk. And then I walked to the NICU. They had to take him because he was born a preemie, so they needed to check him and all that stuff. My baby stayed in the NICU for around 7 days, I would say. I think that was the hardest for me because I had to go home and I had to be home without a baby. The first night was pretty bad. I couldn't really sleep. I was so used to having my belly for like 8 months. And I didn't have no baby, so that was rough. I would go visit him 2 or 3 times a day, just because I couldn't be driving, so I would have to wait until my boyfriend would get home. And yeah, that was that. He was in the NICU, so I would literally pump and then I would take the milk to the NICU so then they can feed him. It was pretty sad. The first time I walked in, I literally wanted to cry. Like I wanted to cry, but I was so happy at the same time because I was able to see my baby. But yeah, being a NICU mom is pretty hard. So they took very good care of my baby. Like they loved him. I saw how they treated him. So at the same time, I wasn't as worried like when I would go home because I knew he was in good hands. But it was hard seeing him being plugged into all those machines and stuff. I would literally want to cry all the time. I would get super excited when the NICU people would call me, like his actual doctor from the NICU. They would call me just to give me like updates and stuff. And they would call me and they're like, oh, like get the stuff ready because he should be going home like very soon. And then they would call me again in the afternoon telling me that his breathing would kind of stop. So he was having trouble breathing on his own. That's why he had to stay in the NICU for a longer time than what we expected. But yeah, everything else was perfectly fine. He was eating perfectly fine. So everything was good, just his breathing was a little bad, but I understand because he was a preemie, so he was trying to learn to do everything on his own without me being there. And then one day they called me in the morning and they told me like, hey, like we just wanted to let you guys know that you guys can come and pick up your baby. He is officially released from the NICU. He passed all the tests that they usually do there. So I was super happy to go pick him up. We got everything ready and we were on our way to pick him up, and it was amazing just walking out of the hospital with the baby. I wish I could have experienced like that, but when I gave birth, like going home with the baby. So that was amazing. We got home with the baby and yeah, that was my whole pregnancy. It was something very difficult to experience, but in a way, I think everything happens for a reason. I'm now like thinking back, I was like, I'm so grateful and like that everything went the way it went. Like I gave birth, him being a preemie, but I think, and I'm like, imagine me waiting more weeks for me to give birth. Like I was like, I don't think the baby wanted to be in my belly any longer. Like he wanted to come out early. He was born January 11th of 2022. He weighed 5 pounds and 12 ounces. So he was a pretty small baby. So I'm not sure where I left off. My camera died, the usual. My camera always dies. But yeah, I'm not sure where I left off, but that was basically my whole pregnancy journey, labor and delivery story. So if you guys enjoyed watching today's video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and subscribe to my channel to join the Jules family. I will be posting every week, so stay tuned for that. And that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.